Hello everybody, in this video today I'm talking about 10 possible benefits of being depressed. Now you might be thinking, what the hell, is this woman out of her mind? And I'm going to say, no, actually I am serious with this video. Part of the recovery from depression is to change your mindset and to think more positive and look at the bright side of things. So I had to struggle very hard and long to come up with these 10 things what could be considered a benefit of depression based on my own history. My name is Dawn Dickinson and the channel is Living Your Best Life. And let me back up a little bit. I'm not a doctor, but I am a person who suffered lifelong agonizing depression for decades, starting all the way back in my childhood. So I have been the subject of doctors and experimentation and medication and suggestions of electric shock therapy all through my life. And finally, about a decade ago, I was able to turn myself around. And 5 years ago, I was able to wean myself off antidepressants completely, which I had been on for 25 years. Now, let me preface with this. I am not suggesting you take yourself off of pharmaceuticals or treat yourself totally on your own. Always best to work with a licensed doctor or therapist, but I'm going to give you my story in case this will help you some. I came up with 10 benefits that could be considered positives for being depressed. Now, the very first one is able to get really good sleep. When I was seriously depressed, I could sleep 10, 12 hours at a time, barely wake up in the night. Now I'm lucky if I can sleep to 4 or 5 a.m. without getting up. So I was able to sleep much easier. I don't know why that is, but something about being depressed makes you have a lot of desire to sleep, makes you able to sleep, and perhaps it's the medication you're on, but better sleep. That was one thing that was okay about depression. Number two, if you enjoy being the guinea pig for all the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies, trying out new treatments, testing new things, helping them build their experience of being a physician, experimenting on you, that could be a benefit of depression. Sometimes they're trying 2 or 3 medications at a time, upping the dose every single week. Oh, this one's not working, let's try this one. Oh, you're not going to get enough from this recommended dose of the FDA? Well, why don't you sign this document and says, I understand that I'm exceeding the recommended dosage on this, but I am okay with them experimenting on me so that they can gain knowledge for science and hopefully you will be better. So yes, if you want to be an experimenting partner for pharmaceutical and the medical industries, that could be a benefit of depression. Number 3, nobody expects anything from you. They're used to seeing you sitting around looking all sad, not putting any motivation into anything. So people aren't going to ask you to do stuff. Nobody is expecting anything from you. You don't even realize this is going on. There was one time when I was married. Oh, it's bad for your marriage. I didn't throw this in here. But one time when I was married, my husband said something about, you being depressed. And I'm like, I'm not depressed. I actually thought this was normal, I thought this is just how you are when you're in your 40s. This is just a midlife thing. But nobody expects you to do anything. So people don't ask you for favors. People don't ask you for stuff. So that could be a benefit of depression. Number 4. Your friends and your family start avoiding you. You kind of are a Debbie Downer to be around. Even if you don't talk about your problems, you've got this low vibe, low energy that you're putting off. So suddenly your friends are going out and you aren't invited and you don't hear about this till later and you're like, oh, they didn't invite me. Or your family will have, the big Easter celebration and they don't invite you to that either and you're not sure what was going on. But if you like to avoid hanging out with people because you're a bit of an introvert, hey, this is a good way to be looked over for all of the fun events that your family and friends are putting on because they're going to avoid inviting you to things. Number 5. Your kids would rather spend time with the other parents because you're kind of a Debbie Downer. So your husband or your wife might say, I'm going to take the kids out to the movies. Do you want to go? And you're like, oh my God, going to the movie theater for 2 hours with the kids. No, could you go without me? And they're like, yeah, they actually prefer you to stay home because you're a Debbie Downer. So, hey, having your kids think the other parent is the fun parent and you're the bummer parent, maybe that is an advantage, because then you don't have to do or coordinate many things with your own kids because they find the other parent is much more fun than you are, and they would rather hang out with the other parent than you, the Debbie Downer. Number 6 is the isolation. You might not even be knowing this is going on, but suddenly you're very isolated from your family, your friends, your coworkers. They don't ask you to lunch. And if you're not a people person, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe you could be isolated, spend the whole day in your cube by yourself without coworkers coming in asking you pesky questions, or asking you if you want to go to lunch with them, or asking if you'd like to go to happy hour after work today. You can stay isolated because you're kind of not a people person anyhow, so maybe this would be a benefit of being depressed. Number 7, sometimes depression could be a great way for you to get out of doing stuff. Like, say, your brother-in-law's wedding of their nephew you were invited to. You really don't want to go. So you're thinking, how do I get out of this? Oh, somehow you can make an excuse based on the fact that you're always depressed, and people are going to understand that, and they're not going to feel bad that you canceled the RSVP to their wedding the last minute. So being able to get out of stuff, perhaps that is a benefit of being depressed. Number 8, here's a great one, is weight gain. If you don't mind gaining weight, if you don't mind putting 75 pounds on in a single year because you've been depressed and you're not really sure why, but you have this uncontrollable urge to stuff your face with anything that's sweet or high fat or just overall bad for you, weight gain. If you like being fat, you like being overweight, you like being unhealthy, you like having clogged arteries, you like not being able to get out of the car very easily, you like having to buy a new size jeans every 3 days, every 3 weeks. If you don't mind putting on massive amount of weight, that often goes along with depression. So hey, maybe that's another benefit. Number 9 is something that happened to me when I was a child. I might have been about 10 years old. My mom decides to take me and my brother to do a nice family photo session. Now, it's just going to be me and my brother. We're sitting up on the little thing. Now, there was a period in my childhood that maybe lasted about 2 years where I would tell people, they would say smile, and I would just sit here like, and I would say, I don't know how to smile. And it was kind of true. I didn't know how to smile. So I went to this photography session, and I'm sitting there with my brother. My brother reacts to everything, and the photographer's like, smile, and I'm sitting there like this. So the photographer kicks me out. Get out of the photo. I'm not taking you. This is a great, bedside manner of a photographer. Anyhow, I'm kicked out of the photo. My brother gets to be in the photo. But again, you don't want to take photos. You could get kicked out by the photography session. And if you want to be everyone's scapegoat, which is actually my number 10, you can also have that as a benefit of being depressed. Because not only I got kicked out of the photo session, but then it's all my fault. It's my fault that this photo session went bad, and being my scapegoat also is another benefit of being depressed. As a child, one time when I was in 6th grade, the lovely parent-teacher conferences? Those usually actually went pretty well in my history because I was a good student. I was smart, studious, I got good grades. So most of the time, parent-teacher conferences were very good. Except in 6th grade, I had a very astute teacher, and that parent-teacher conference did not go so well because he told my mother that he was worried about me because I was isolated by myself, didn't really have any friends, kind of sat in the corner with a sad face, and he was worried about me. Maybe she should do something about that, maybe have me checked out by a physician. And my mom comes home and is mad at me, furious, chewing me out for being such a terrible student. Oh my goodness. All my fault. Everything actually was always my fault in the family. So if you enjoy being the family scapegoat, being depressive in the beginning, that actually is a way to become the family scapegoat or the scapegoat for your group or whatever. So again, another benefit of being depression, if you enjoy being the blame for everything that goes wrong in your family, at your workplace, it seems like the depressed person is easily the target, the one that becomes the scapegoat. Okay, now that is my 10 reasons. Again, I hope you understand there is a bit of sarcasm to this list. I'm not saying you should be depressed. It's actually a terrible thing. Terrible thing. I fought it for years. I could tell you in the next video. I actually am thinking of posting a video about the 10 ways that I overcame depression myself. If you're interested in that video, I am thinking of working on it. Maybe put a comment below. It took me a long time. I actually am turning 61 next week, and I have not been depressed in a long time. Now, I'm not saying I never get depressed or I never get down, because that does happen, especially after I go see my mother in the memory care facility. I'm usually crying, but it's more triggered by actual events that should make a person depressed. So if you're interested in learning more about that, again, I want you to know I'm not a doctor, but I am talking about my own personal experiences. I did not do that video for a very long time. Actually, I've not made it yet. The ways I personally overcame depression. I don't usually like to talk about it on the channel because it's really embarrassing. Really embarrassing that I struggled with this mental illness my entire life until maybe a decade ago. So I have not really touched on it very much on my video YouTube channels, but that is the story. Again, not a doctor. I am hoping any of you that suffer from depression find a way out of it. I noticed that it is more of an epidemic in today's world than it was back in the 70s and the 80s when I was really struggling, actually all the way to about 2015. So I hope all of you, if you're struggling, get help you need, and this is something you can pull yourself out of. You can do it. You can. I certainly encourage all of you. My name's Dawn Dickinson. The channel is about living your best life. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you find it helpful, please do me a favor and give me a thumbs up, a like. Consider subscribing to the channel. Now, I don't post this every single week on this channel. I do have another channel, Living in Arizona, if you're interested in Arizona real estate. This channel I post when I have an inspiration, and this morning when I woke up at 4, because I would sleep as well as I did when I was depressed, I had this idea. And I put it together and I record this video. So again, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to see you back here the next time I post a video on my channel.